All right, everybody, here we are, Totally Driven Radio, and it's time to welcome the man of the hour, all the way from Canada, the one, the only, Mr. Danko Jones. Danko,
Hello?
welcome to Totally Driven Radio.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, real quick before I get into the whole interview thing, I want to tell you a quick story that I have of you and my first real experience of experiencing Danko Jones and the rest of the band.
Okay.
You guys played in Philly. I'm down here in Philly. You guys played Philly, a thing called Babe Fest that Gene Simmons was hosting.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I guess it was right around the time when Lover Call had broke.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, I knew the song. I was like, all right, yeah, me and my buddy was like, yeah, good song. We're like, cool, Danko's playing. This is going to be a good show. And you're like, I'm in the crowd. I'm like, yeah, this is good. And then I don't know what song it was, but you just literally started beating yourself in the face during the song.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was that had to be the last song.
I
Bring
mean,
on the Mountain.
Full on punching yourself in the face, where I'm actually watching your face swell up from hitting yourself.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
I
got a detached retina, and I had to be hospitalized, and I had an eye operation for it.
Really?
So I don't do that anymore. Yeah, that's why I wear glasses now, because I'm short-sighted in one eye and far-sighted in the other because of the operation.
Wow.
So that's actually what happens when you punch yourself in the face repeatedly every night on a 30-date tour for 7 years. Whatever.
But after seeing that, I was just like, this dude is serious. And one of the things that I always look for in music, and any types of music, I mean, my heart and soul's hard rock and metal and all, but the one thing I always look for is emotion and passion in music, and that right there sold me. I was like, this dude is the shit. I mean, this was awesome.
It's also obvious also that you look for stupidity, because that was the dumbest thing I ever used to do.
Come on.
It was dumb. I mean, it was a good way to, like, take out aggression, and even from a performance point of view, it was a great way to grab people's attention, especially when, we were in an opening situation and we weren't really winning them over. That was a decider, actually, at the end of the show. But in hindsight, like, just the stuff I had to go through, like with my eye and stuff, sometimes I go, I don't know if it was worth it, just because I didn't have a good time going through that whole eye thing. But whatever. I mean, it's in the past, and I wear glasses now, so whatever. I guess I can wear it as like a badge of what I've gone through, I guess. I don't know. But I'm glad you remembered it. So I guess it worked that night.
Oh, absolutely.
It worked that
absolutely.
night. Yeah.
That's my Danko Jones experience I'll never forget.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do stupid stuff like that. I remember that was in 2005 when we played that Babe Fest with Gene Simmons. And that same year, we were in Seattle playing with a band called Turbo Negro. We were opening for them, and there was, you can win over a whole room full of people, but if there's one person who's not won over, your whole attention focuses to that person. It's just how I am, and a lot of people are like that too. So there was one guy who just kept heckling me through the whole set, and as we were leaving, the dressing room was near where he was standing, and I just looked at him and I punched myself in the forehead so hard that for the rest of the night, and luckily we had to fly home the next day, for the rest of the night into the morning, all the way to the airport, I thought I gave myself a grade 3 concussion when I looked online, and I went to my family doctor, and then when he asked me what was wrong, I had to tell him, like, look, this might sound crazy, but he goes, how did you get the concussion? I go, well, this is crazy, but I punched myself in the forehead. But I didn't get a concussion. I thought I had. Never self-diagnose through the internet.
Yeah. Go right to WebMD and see what the symptoms are.
Yeah.
Now you guys are from Canada, and
yeah.
the one thing, like, now growing up here in Philly, I had growing up like across the driveway from me was a neighbor who had relatives in Canada, and twice a year they would come down and visit. And I mean, this is going back from like the 70s through the 80s and 90s. And back in the 80s, when the whole hard rock explosion was happening, you know, we would start getting into that whole, you know, the metal scene that was blowing up. And he would bring down bands from Canada. And one of them was a band called Sword. And we used to just jam out to them. And I never got to experience them down here until he would bring the tapes down. Does something like that, being a band from Canada, like early on, kind of like make you think like, all right, well, we got to like break out of Canada and we got to come down to the States, or did you just plan to just stick it out? Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, when we first formed, we got a lot of flack from at least the Toronto scene, which bled out into the rest of the country when they found out that we weren't going to play Canada. That was our whole initial platform. We wanted to just concentrate on the States because at the time, during like the 90s garage rock scene, there were a handful of great Canadian garage bands. I'm actually wearing a Mance shirt right now from Calgary, and now they're from Victoria. I'm wearing it as I speak to you.
Nice.
But compared to America, I mean, America that's where the scene was, and that's all the bands that we loved that we kind of built our band on were from America, and that's who we wanted to play with. So we just said, well, what's the point of playing in Canada when there's no garage rock scene? Nobody here gets it, and the people who do are in so few numbers that it won't support us as a band. We can't really tour. So we're very vocal about it, and I think that pissed off a lot of people around here. So, yeah, I mean, the emphasis was always on at least getting away from touring Canada. And having said that, you know, after all these years, 2014 is actually the first year, finally, where we've made a concerted effort to just tour home. We're touring Canada this year. Yeah, we're playing Canada and staying home and working on a record, and we've never really done that where it's only really just Canada. There might be a few European shows, but other than that, it's really going to be just Canada this year.
So does that mean the scene in Canada is getting a lot better, the rock scene?
We're going to find out.
Yeah, you know, and that's a question I've been asking like the past few weeks, a lot of the guests I've had. And a big thing for myself, especially like here in Philly, like it seems like the rock scene is dead. And it's weird, and I explain this to people, like, and it's been like this in Philly for a while. Like, you know, we're sandwiched between like, you know, Maryland and North Jersey, New York area. And it's like those two towns do really well. And it seems a lot of bands skip over Philly, and it like boggles my mind that a major market like Philly gets skipped over by so many bands. And I just wondered, like, in general, and especially like even looking outside in a worldwide picture, like over in Europe and all, the scene seems like the rock scene's a lot better than it is down here in the States. And I just wonder what happened. Like, what's going on?
I think you're asking questions that a lot of people are asking. I really don't have the answer because there's all the really, what I feel, are really great rock bands are embraced in Europe, and that's where that's where we find each other abroad in Europe, to the point where we come home, we tour North America, Canada, America, and we measure it up against what we just experienced in Europe and in other continents, other places, and it just doesn't measure up. And you just kind of go, well, what's the point of touring here when we're actually losing money? I mean, if we do this long enough, we won't be able to make rent, you know?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know. I look at some of the bands that are under the umbrella of quote-unquote rock. I don't find them containing a lot of rock in their songs and their albums. I don't want to really kind of point them out, but I think we all have our different lists, and some of them have the same bands on them. But I find that is whoever is in charge. I don't know if there's some sort of pyramid, but whoever's at the top deciding on what bands get focused on has a really bad skewed view of what rock is and what rock's supposed to sound like. Because to me, there's enough bands around today that really fill that void. It's not as if we are we have a situation where, where are all the bands? Well, the bands are here. They're just not getting the support in the audience the way I feel some really, really bad representatives of rock are. You know, I can name you 10 bands off the tip of my tongue right now that are incredible. You know, there's Graveyard, Freefall, Horizont, a lot of them from Scandinavia, actually. Those three are. There's Volbeat. There's Supergroup, Broken Teeth. This is just off the top of my head. I'd have to like scroll through my iPod to give you more, but I mean, there's really a lot of real great rock bands out there, and there would be Airborne's another one. There would be more if they just had the support. You know, I think a lot of people would start picking up guitars and playing some rock. Imperial State with Nicky Anderson's new band. Dragon from the Backyard Babies has a new great rock record out. You know, Turbo Negro guys just put out an album last year that was pretty amazing. So and on it goes, you know. But you know, where are the droves of people who support these bands enough for them to like tour and keep putting out records and keep existing? I don't know. You know what the problem might be is that rock and roll is past the middle age. Is past middle age. You know, it's older than rap. Rap is middle age now. And rock is way older than rap. And what we have is a situation where a band that forms, well, they're not really up against their contemporaries so much as they're up against the entire Zeppelin catalog. And that is a very hard entity to go up against. You know, so you have an audience that's going, well, you know, I really like this first album you put out. It's very rudimentary, and I can see potential. But you know what? All I have to do is put on Houses of the Holy, and I'm going to get my ass kicked. Or all I need to put on is Masters of Reality, and I'm going to get my ass kicked. And this young band that's got a lot of potential has to go up against Sabotage or so that is the problem and the predicament that a lot of bands who play rock are up against. I think, you know, you got to go up against Appetite for Destruction. Now, how the fuck are you going to go up against? Sorry for swearing, but how are you going to go up against Appetite for Destruction? You know, your first shot at being a band. You know, you're up against these kinds of albums because rock is just that old. You know. Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that.
And it's not a situation like jazz, where jazz is the same way in a sense. Like, you know, jazz kind of died because, well, how are you going to beat John Coltrane?
Right.
How are you going to beat A Love Supreme? What are you going to do with your horn that Coltrane didn't already do? You know, so.
Yeah, you know what? We have Randy Rhoads' brother on last week, and he's been putting out like classical piano albums, and he kind of said the same thing. He's like, how the hell am I going to make money making classical music? He's like, how am I supposed to top the greats of classical music? You know what I mean? And it's kind of that same thing with that. It's
classical music is in a weird situation too, because that's like the ultimate cover band music. It's just made up of cover bands.
Right.
It's a genre of music, a contemporary genre of music that's made up of cover bands. That's like saying, like, yeah, I really liked Appetite for Destruction's album where they covered Appetite for Destruction. I mean, it's just it's a ridiculous genre at this point.
That's crazy. Now, you guys have played with.
I will say, classical music I mean, when you get into like avant-garde composers in the classical music genre, that's a kind of music that I'm really interested in. But I mean, I'm trying to find my. I feel like I'm 13 again, trying to figure out which punk rock record I should buy. So
right.
that's a real interesting. On the other hand, that's the other side of the genre, which is really exciting to me. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. It's one thing myself. Like I never really got into was the whole classical thing, and I think it's been more of like an intimidating factor because of how good it is.
Yeah.
But you guys have toured and played with some, the iconic bands of all time. Your Guns N' Roses, the Stones, Motorhead. Is there anybody out there that you'd really like to play with yet that you haven't?
Oh yeah, AC/DC and Kiss. But really, Kiss. I mean, I would freak if we ever did.
Yeah, Kiss seems to be like your band, the biggest influence for you.
I don't know. They're my favorite band, like Kiss and Metallica, just because I got into them when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But when I listen to Kiss songs and even Metallica songs, it just sounds like Happy Birthday to me. Like I've heard it so much that it doesn't have that impact it used to. Sometimes
right.
when I saw them like 10 years ago on, I guess it was right before they put out, like around St. Anger. And they started with Fight Fire with Fire. They started the show with that, and I felt like my heart start like racing because it was just so amazing. But
right,
they're just so embedded into my psyche, and my ears are become so accustomed to them that I don't even hear them almost.
Yeah, I haven't seen Metallica play live since Cliff died. Last time I saw them on the Ride the Lightning tour and Master of Puppets tour. It's the last time I seen them.
Well, then I don't really think you should, because it's never going to. It's just never going to come close to. Because I collect bootlegs, but I only collect stuff I can find with Cliff on them,
nice.
Like DVD bootlegs. So there's a few that are kind of like. I'll never find. There's a few that are just I don't know. I will eternally be searching for. But when you put it up against what they are today, and it's not disrespecting them at all, because
yeah.
how can they compete against like Ride the Lightning era? They're right. In their 50s now. I mean,
yeah.
God, they're doing better than most 50-year-old bands. But still, I mean, it's just like, well, Cliff is the all-encompassing shadow that they will forever live under.
Yeah, this is true. Now, how about you guys are only a three-piece, and being with bands like Metallica and Kiss with a double guitar. Did you guys ever have or think about adding an extra guitar player?
We did initially, like I would say, like maybe 15 years ago. But we are doing fine. It's not broke. Sometimes it allows for the music to be a little raw as well.
Right.
So in that sense, no, not really.
Now, going back to touring.
Yeah.
You guys do a lot of festival tours, I guess, like Uproar Festival and stuff like that, and. You guys do smaller stuff. What do you prefer doing?
I really liked that Uproar Festival. It was fun to hang out with all the bands that were there, especially Walking Papers and Dead Daisies, because we knew people there, and even like some people in the Coheed camp we knew. So it was fun to hang out with those people.
Right.
And it was a kind of a relaxed thing because we weren't headlining. So the pressure wasn't on us to deliver at the end of the night and give everybody the money shot home.
Right.
So, we just did our set, and then we had the rest of the day to just chill and hang, and even like leading up to our set, it was pretty relaxed because, nobody really was there to see us particularly. So yeah, no, I like that kind of that festival touring. In terms of like the European tours where you fly to the one day of the festival, those are great too, because once again you get to hang out with some bands, and sometimes they're your friends, sometimes you're fans of them. And then sometimes, on occasion, you find out they like your band too, so that's kind of nice. So yeah, I mean, that's great. When you're doing your own tour, everybody's there to see you. It's a lot of pressure, but you know the payback is like tenfold, just because it's just that much more intense, you know.
Now, do you like touring around the country in a van?
No. I've done my share of it. I mean, well, we're not above doing it. We'll do it if we have to.
Right.
If the tour's right, we'll do it. But I've had this discussion with people, and some guys who've done both, like bus tours and van tours, prefer vans.
Really?
But I prefer buses.
Yeah.
In the end, it's almost equal. It works out equally depending on what level of touring you are. If you're crashing on people's floors, and you're touring in a van, well then, you know, you're gonna probably save more money. But in the end of the day, if you're getting hotels every night, it pretty much works out the same. And I prefer to tour on a bus.
Cool. Keep it real, old school way.
Yeah.
No, you got like your hands into everything. It seems like beside music, you've become somewhat of a writer now, where you write a column for the Huffington Post, and you had your own book as well that you wrote.
No. That was written by Stuart Berman, who writes for Pitchfork, and he's the editor of the Grid Weekly here in Toronto. He wrote that book. People think I wrote it. I never wrote it. It's a oral history on our band. So there's like I think there's 75 people interviewed for it. So everybody from, Peaches and Lemmy and David Vincent from Morbid Angel, guys in Death Angel, Sepultura, all kinds of people are in it.
Now, a lot of those bands you're naming, I mean, they're like old school thrash bands, and you guys are not a thrash band. So how's that feel to be like?
There's a lot of rock bands in there too. There's, I think Eddie Spaghetti's in there. Blaine Cartwright from Nashville Pussy's in there. I mean, there's 75 people. There's a Jello Biafra's there. A guy from the Raconteurs is there. So, I mean, it's just all kinds of people.
Cool. So, okay, so your Huffington Post column that you do that's weekly. How'd that all come about?
I've been writing for music magazines since 2005.
Oh, wow.
I started writing for Rock Hard magazine in Germany in 2005 after I put out my spoken word album. The editor for Rock Hard, Gotts Hunneman, he gave me the column. So I wrote for them for about 2 years, and then I started writing for a Norwegian magazine called Mute Magazine, a Hungarian magazine called Broken Guitars. I wrote for Rockstar Magazine in Switzerland. I write currently for Rock Zone in Spain. I have been for the past 4 years, and I've had a monthly column in Close Up Magazine, which is Sweden's premier metal magazine, for the past 8 years.
Nice.
Huffington is a column I got September of 2012, and they wanted me to write maybe like once a month or as many times as I wanted, thinking I was just going to write like maybe once a month or once every other month. But I told them I'll write I'll write like 2-3 times a week, and they said, well, that's too much. So I said, okay, I'll write weekly. I did that for a year, and then I just took it to a bi-weekly column now. So I do it every other week. I have a podcast I do that's kind of taking up a lot of my time. So and plus we're getting into pre-production mode, which is actually where I have to go to in 5 minutes. I got to go to rehearsal. Okay. But yeah, we're ramping up for the new album, and my time is getting limited. I do have columns. Like, I do really enjoy writing for Huffington because they just pretty much let me write whatever I want. I mean, I'm not like writing some insane stuff, so they don't really have to worry about me too much. So, I'm just kind of on autopilot there. So
cool. Now, your podcast, is it weekly or?
That changes just because I only have to report to myself. So I do it whenever I want. But I was trying to do it every 10 days up until last month when the holidays came, and I just said, you know what, I'm taking a break. So my version of a break is every 2 weeks. So we uploaded the newest episode this past week, which is episode number 68 with Derek Beckles. Derek Beckles is the creator of Hot Package, which is a show on Adult Swim. He also writes for Eric and Andre, and he writes for Tim and Eric. I think he works with Tim Heidecker as well. But he wrote for Vice for the longest time. He had a show called TV Carnage. If you've heard about it, but Hot Package is just a genius show on Adult Swim. It's got Pat O'Brien and that dude from what's its name? Windy City Heat. The star of Windy City Heat is also on Hot Package. So, anyways, that's the latest episode. The one before that was with Bruce Pavitt, the co-founder of Sub Pop Records.
Okay.
I talked to Bruce. And then what's coming up is Damien Abraham, the singer of Effed Up, a comedian from Canada who I'm a big fan of, Sean Cullen, Ian Christie, the owner of Bazillion Points, that book publishing company that put out what's that Bay Area thrash photo book? I have it here. Hold on. He put out Only Death is Real, the Celtic Frost book, Murder in the Front Row by Harold Oyman. Yeah, he put out that book. He put out Only Death is Real, the Celtic Frost book, and he put out the Swedish death metal book. So I interviewed him, and we talked about Bazillion Points. That's coming up soon, too.
Cool. Well, the last thing I want to touch on before I let you go so you can get the rehearsal is the video for Legs.
Yep.
Well, two things. It looked like you had a lot of fun doing it. And one thing you guys always do is videos, which is awesome. I mean, it's like you guys keep that video spirit alive, and I truly still believe the video is such an important factor in music, and it surprises me that a lot of other bands don't continue to do it. I mean, obviously you're...
I don't know if they don't continue or they just, have given... they just don't get played. It just goes directly to YouTube now.
Right.
And they don't... And they don't use social media as much as we're utilizing it. I'm on Twitter all the time.
Right.
We're always uploading stuff because of the podcast and because of the Huffington online articles. So I'm always online and I'm always on Twitter and even Instagram. They put the Instagram bug in me recently, so I'm doing that too. So I mean, if you can do a video, and there's a lot of bands that have videos. When you search on YouTube, I'm always surprised that, oh wow, this band has a video. I never knew. Well, I should know, but because they're not as active on social media as maybe other bands are or other bands have hired, you never hear about it. As far as the Legs video is concerned, we did that in, I think in October, last October, and it didn't get released until December. But, it's got 14 transsexuals who are tying me up and basically trying to have their way with me. And it was directed by Bruce LaBruce, who is a real well-known filmmaker, at least here in Canada and in Europe, and I'm sure in America he has a quite a huge fan base. But he's done some great work, and we've always wanted Bruce to work with Bruce and direct one of our videos, and I think this was the perfect time. So yeah, I mean, as far as it was. I was, to be honest with you, I felt claustrophobic for the entire shoot, and it was a mental fight to not scream out and just go, get me out of here, because I really started feeling claustrophobic. The tape that's around me is real, and she just kept wrapping it every single take to the point where you start to go crazy. You start to really. It's funny how quick you can go nuts, because I just started going, like, I had to calm myself down because I was really claustrophobic and I could not move. And that freaks me out. And that's when I realized, wow, you're really claustrophobic. And it had nothing to do with, like, you know, people trying to, like, throw themselves at me during the shoot. That was the easy part. The hard part was, like, trying to sit still in this chair knowing that if a fire breaks out, I'm fucked. So those were the thoughts that were, like, going through my head. I was like, you know, it was cool though, because Bruce was just like, "Are you okay? Are you cool?" Like, everybody was like, because the part where I have the blindfold on, that was the worst, because that's when I was like, "Wow, I'm blinded and I can't move, and if something fucking happens right now, I'm dead."
That really just took it to the whole next level.
Yeah, that was just like, oh, you know, so it made it hard. And once I was wrapped for the day, I was super relieved. Oh my God, I didn't show it on set, but I was just like, oh my God, I lived through it. I'm still alive. There was no fire or earthquake or you know, so it was cool.
That's awesome. Well, everybody can go to dankojones.com. And you got all your links up there for your social medias and all that? And
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I mean, it's twitter.com/DankoJones, facebook.com/DankoJones. Yeah, and from there you can probably follow the links. iTunes podcast, the official Danko Jones podcast. And just do searches on Huffington Post and my name, and you'll find something.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. And actually, as I let you go, I'm going to play Legs for everybody, if that's cool.
Perfect.
Cool.
It'll bring up crazy memories of claustrophobic memories.
Well, thanks so much, and hope to keep in touch, and I hope you come back down to Philly sometime soon.
Yeah, we totally want to. I mean, Philly's been great to us, and it's a great city. We played there recently with Volbeat last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were there. It was the last show of the tour too, so that made it more memorable. We were screwing around with them, and they tried to screw with us, and it was pretty funny.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Danko,
cool.
We'll take care and be in touch.
All right, see ya.
See ya. All right, everybody,
Bye-bye.
Danko Jones. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And here we go, the video he was just talking about, the song Legs. All right, everybody, there it is, Danko Jones with Legs. And that's off his latest release, Rock and Roll is Black and Blue. You can get that on iTunes, so go there, download it, get the whole album. You'll see his whole catalog on iTunes as well. Go to dankojones.com for all the links, and you can see the Legs video and his links to his podcast and his social media, his YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and his new little craze of Instagram. All right, everybody. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back in a few.